Hi guys, this is something I'd mentioned before, but I found the article again, and so I want to talk about it again. And you can see the headline here from the Huffington Post, and I'm going to read from the Huffington Post. It says, Martin, a part owner of Ian's Pizza, a pizza shop with 4 locations in Wisconsin, said his business has offered full health care coverage to his 50 full-time employees for years, making it all the more difficult to compete with national chains like Papa John's that pay workers low wages without health benefits. This may level the playing field for us, Martin said of the Papa John's price hike. If they have to pay for benefits and that pushes their prices up closer to ours, it will justify what we've been paying for and what we've been fighting to do the past few years. A little later, Huffington Post goes on to say, like many of the 60% of small businesses that pay employees health benefits, Ian's Pizza has struggled to compete with national chains that enter local markets and undercut existing prices. But Obamacare may give local businesses some breathing room as national chains lose the advantage they once wielded through not providing health insurance. This is according to Jonathan Gruber, a professor of economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Now, I find this very interesting because one of the big arguments of the Republicans against Obamacare is that it's going to hurt small business. Now, I really doubted that that was true, and I've actually been trying to find some statistics on that to see exactly what it would do to small business. And even if it was true, I've already made the point that for these big businesses, Walmart, Papa John's, places like that, with these big businesses that pay minimum wage, their employees end up being dependent on federal, state, and local programs for them to survive. In many states, here in California and in Washington State, as this manager of Walmart had mentioned, have programs to where you can get health care for your kids. And then there's also programs like WIC. I don't know if they'd qualify for WIC or not, but there are a lot of people who have full-time jobs at these big chains, and they're on food stamps because they make minimum wage. A previous video I did pointed out that an internal Walmart document gave a listing of what their pay scale was, and according to this document, I think I have this correct. Forgive me if I don't have it quite correct, but an employee that starts at minimum wage, which is $8 something an hour, I know it's 8 something, I just don't remember I think it's $8.60. If they get every possible raise and the maximum raise every single time, which means they're an exemplary employee, after it's like 6 years, they're going to be making 10 something an hour. How can you live on 10 something an hour? Well, you can't. This is why so many families not only have both couples working, but they often have more than one job, which is just really great for their kids, not having their parents around. You end up with the kids being dependent on daycare and on school and after school programs, and frequently as well school supplemental programs such as free breakfast and lunch. So what ends up happening is these low prices that these big chains like Walmart have out there are being subsidized by everybody in the country. And this is an issue. This just kills me when I look at this, because this is an issue that I would think Republicans would be all for. The fact that, because as long as I have known, and I was raised in a Republican household, Republicans have been against welfare except for those who really need it. And sometimes they're awfully narrow about what they mean by really need it. And here we have the working poor dependent on welfare because the companies they work for, huge multi-billion-dollar companies, aren't paying them a living wage and aren't giving them any benefits or very poor benefits. And yet these companies are raking in the dough, and upper management and the CEOs and so forth are making a fortune, even with this Hostess debacle that's going on. Hostess is complaining about the unions, and yet some of their upper people got raises. And yet it's the union's fault. No, it's years and years and years of mismanagement. And the unions finally said, no, we're not going to let you stick us into poverty so that you can continue to make money. Plus, it's pretty clear, the more I read about this, it looks like, Hostess knew they were going to have to sell off their brands anyway. And they're just looking for the best deal. And, going through bankruptcy and divesting themselves of the unions makes them a much nicer target for purchase. So, again, to me, this is just frustrating that you have the Republicans who have decided that they've got this ideology that they have to support so strongly, and they're so anti-Obama that they can't look at Obamacare, which was originally a Republican proposal, actually, and realize that what this does is saves everybody in this country a fortune. It saves the taxpayers a fortune. And aren't they for that? Aren't they for saving the taxpayers money? Because the welfare programs and having all these people have to go to the emergency rooms when they're sick or when their kids are sick cost us all money. When these multi-billion-dollar companies, all they have to do is raise their prices a little. And in this particular case, we have a small business, and the Republicans are always talking about small business, how important small business is, how all these Obama programs are going to hurt small business. Here we have a small business who is one of the 60%, okay? That's 60% of small businesses that pay employees health benefits. That's a lot. Now, I don't know about the other 40%. For one thing, the other 40% could also, in some cases, include very small businesses, which only have a couple of employees, and there's no way they can afford to pay for health care, especially if they're in localities where they can't join a pool, because that's what businesses often do. It's too expensive for them to go out and get individual health care for their employees, so they join a pool where they're in with a group of other businesses, for example, and that levels things out, because if you have health care for your employees and one employee gets cancer, it pretty much cancels your health care. But if you belong to this pool, the likelihood of someone getting cancer is, rather than 1 in 4, let's say, is 1 in several thousand. And so the pain is spread out, so to speak. And insurers are more likely to give insurance to people who will fit into this kind of situation where you have a pool of payers. But in some places that's not available, or someone doesn't fit into the pool for some reason or another. You could have 4 employees who are the world's best employees, but 2 of them have pre-existing conditions, and they may not be eligible for the pool. Your other employees might not be eligible for the pool for that reason. In some states, there are supplemental insurance that the employees can get that helps, but it varies so very much. And yet, given all the potential problems for small businesses in being able to afford insurance for their employees, 60% pay them health benefits. And yet, Walmart and Papa John's can't pay health benefits, or at least not for all their employees. That really tells you something. So who are they really supporting here? Is this for the small businesses? No, it's the big businesses. It's a big business again. The Republican Party, again, is proving it is the party of big business. It's not supporting small business at all. Obamacare will help a lot of small businesses because it's going to level the playing field, rather than these big, huge companies who are undercutting prices everywhere. And in many cases, companies like Walmart have turned downtowns of cities into ghost towns because the big companies come in, and the mom and pop stores, or even the small chains, can't compete. And so they go out of business. And so the only employer, and another part of this too, and I have watched this happen. So you have people who lose their jobs because their companies they work for go out of business because the big chains, the big box stores come in, like Walmart. And So then the only job that they can get now is to go to work for the big box store with no benefits and for less money than they were making before. So they're practically, it's almost like a form of involuntary servitude, because your choice is to try to move someplace where you can get a better job, which is extremely expensive. And how do you know you're going to get a better job? I could remember even back in the 80s when things went to hell, people were moving from all over the place. There were some people who, when the Detroit and all the car manufacturers had so much problems and the iron mills were shutting down, people were going to Texas to try to get jobs, only to discover when they got there that it wasn't the promised land, and they ended up living in their cars. And unlike being back home in, Michigan or Wisconsin, you may be poor, but you've got family support. You end up in Texas with nothing. So that was, it doesn't necessarily work. Picking up and moving is not easy. Your only other choice is to get a job that pays you minimum wage and no benefits. So this is tyranny. It's tyranny by big business. So, and another point they make, and here's what I've already said, a portion of their Papa John's employees are already paid at minimum wage, so you can't reduce wages, so they're going to have to increase their prices a little bit. And maybe Papa John himself will have to take a little bit less money. I mean, seriously, doesn't the guy have enough money as it is? Anyway, so Schnatter, who is, okay, I kind of lost track of who he is. But anyway, he's apparently is involved with Papa John's Pizza, and he says that, actually maybe it is Papa John, I don't even know what the guy's last name is, but he says, let's check this out. He says, in August, he said that Obamacare would cost the company between 11 and 14 cents per pizza. However, subsequent analysis by Caleb Melby of Forbes found that the price increase would actually be closer to 3.4 to 3.6 cents per pound. So this is really interesting. Forbes is saying it's going to be, well, let's say 3.5, put it in the middle, 3.5 cents extra per pizza. Papa John's is saying, well, we're going to have to raise it like 11 to 14. Wow. Doesn't that kind of tell you that they're going to be a net profit in there? There's a little bit of a difference between, 3.4 to 3.6 and 11 to 14, isn't there? So they're going to raise it to where they're making even more money. But I sincerely doubt that any of that extra money is going to go to their workers. So this is, in a way, this is all a big scam. And at the very end of it, the guy from the Wisconsin Pizza Company says, I'll tell Papa John's CEO, welcome to the club. We battled the whole way giving health insurance to employees ever since we could afford to do it 9 years ago as a 2-year-old business. So here's this small business. Once it was established in 2 years, after 2 years, it was able to give its employees full health care coverage. What the hell is wrong with Papa John's? What the hell is wrong with Walmart? They're greedy bastards is what it is. And it's pretty clear just from the comment on the pizza. So we're going to raise it, 10 cents, 9 to 10 cents more than we have to. So that 9 to 10 cents is going to go into the coffers of upper management and to Papa John. But they're going to blame it on Obamacare. This is a whole bunch of crap. We all suspected it. At least I think most of us suspected it. But more and more is coming out that shows the truth here. Anyway, that's about all I wanted to say, is that the next time somebody says that Obamacare is going to destroy small businesses, it's bad for small businesses. No, it may be for some. Yes, you're right. But when you compare the damage that companies like Walmart and Papa John's have done to small businesses, what Obamacare is going to do is quite a bit minimal. If anything, Obamacare is actually going to help most small businesses by leveling the playing field. If anything has hurt small businesses, it's been Papa John's and Walmart and people like them. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.